What's going on, guys? Welcome back. So it's time to finally start actually doing a bit more ancillary things on the 30. So first thing's going to be put the engine mounts on, then I'm going to start dummying up the hot side, make sure it clears the engine mounts and everything like that. Hopefully it does. Then I've got my new harmonic balancer to go on, so a fair bit of stuff to do, which is good. I'm happy, I'm glad. So yeah, get stuck into it. I'll start off with these engine mounts, get them on. I'm also going to put I'll put the runners on. I'm not going to put the top half of the plenum on at this stage, just until I have my injectors essentially completely ready to go in, because all that stuff's a lot easier to get at without the top half of the plenum on there. So this is where I'm at, this is what I'm doing. So I've got here my nice painted up engine mounts. I've checked on Rex's R31. From what I can see, this is passenger side, this is driver side. So I'm just going to whack them in. I've got the bolts for them around here somewhere. So looking forward to getting a lot of this stuff off this table and on the engine, and do a lot of that this weekend and try and clean this place up a bit. Alrighty, so we've got engine mounts on. It is a bit strange. This one looks like it's so much lower than this side, but I have double checked on Rex's R31 and they are correct. They are the right mounts, it's just how they sit. Looks a bit funny, but it is what it is. So next thing is to get all my studs in the head, just for dummy purposes at the moment. I went down and flogged a heap of studs off another RB30 head we have down there, and I've also got a few in a box there which came out of an RB25. So get some studs in and start dummying some stuff up for now. This is the hot side, just a dry run, no gaskets, but turbo clears everything perfectly. It's actually pretty much the perfect size for this. So just going to do a dry run while I sort out my turbo lines and stuff. That's all stuff that has to happen. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with how all that fits. This has had another loss, another thing wrong. Bought this, was meant to be a 6-bolt T28 to 3-inch V-band dump, but is obviously not correct, miles off. So that sucks. It's another thing I'll have to try and find another one that's actually going to work. So I suppose this can go with the T25 as well for whatever. But yeah, real pain in the ass. So got to try and get another, pretty much a 6-bolt dump off a T28 to 3-inch V-band is what I need. That's what I want. So anyway, I have to look at getting one of those, but at least the turbo's a win, which is awesome. So yeah, pretty happy with that. Alrighty, so I've clocked the center, the core, clocked the housings the way they need to be. I believe this is going to be fine. I went down and had a look on Rex's. Really handy having another one here to check, but I'm pretty sure it should be fine for this housing to be clocked this way and just have an elbow straight off it. It should be firing off in front and off of the strut tower. So that should be fine. So then I've got here is the factory hardline oil feed line from a RB20 DT, which I've just sort of bent up and made work from the feed. Use this old tube bender we've got, so just use that to sort of bend it up, make it work. So it's sitting pretty well. Then I've got, this is the factory dump off a RB20, which as you can see is quite long. We almost shoot it straight into that hole, but I'm gonna have to grind this, sort of shorten it down, and then obviously get a fitting for this, and then just run a bit of hose probably. The only other thing I found is that where this is clocked, this is actually fouling on this bolt head, so I'm gonna have to just notch that with a grinder, I think, so that will sit right on the turbo. As far as water lines, I'm not gonna run water cooling. The reason being is just to simplify the whole setup. For you those who don't know, the idea of having the water in the core is just for when you turn the car off and the turbo is still hot, the water still moves around. As it boils, it draws the air out. Draws the heat out as it boils, and just stops the oil in the core from cooking. So to prevent this, the best thing to do is just to not shut down the motor straight after you've been absolutely, working the turbo. Let it idle down, pretty much, is how you get around that. You don't need to run water in these things. It's not necessary. It does help for that, but you don't need to. So I'm not going to. One reason, is because of the way the turbo is. The one water feed is like right on the back there, right against the engine block, and you'll never be able to get it. It's going to always be a pain in the ass, and it just simplifies the whole setup, not having to run the water lines. So anyway, that's where we're at. Looks pretty good. Just going to double check on Rex's that this is going to be right. I don't want to go putting gaskets and locking it all up at the moment, just in case can't put an elbow here if it's going to be in the way or something. It's going to be a lot easier if I can take the turbo back off, but I don't know. We'll see how confident I am when I have another look at Rex's. But alright, so just pointing out, this is the Banjo Bolt that came with that turbo from Max Speeding Rods. Obviously, being they are what they are, you don't expect massive quality. But as you can see, the hole for the oil is actually quite far up from the head of the bolt. And when put through the fitting on the oil line, that hole is actually, you could almost see it. It's hard to get good light to show you, but you can almost see there you go. You can see a bit of light through that. So that is actually the oil feed hole. So that's, even with a cross washer, that's still, I reckon, far too far along the bolt. So I went digging. I found this one. This is just one that came with another Chinese turbo, obviously at some point. But you can see that the oil feed hole is actually quite a lot lower, albeit the feed hole, they're about the same size, but it's quite a lot lower on the bolt, which I'm a lot more comfortable with. But the other thing is, I actually put the bolt through the fitting and tried to thread it down towards the restrictor, and it bottoms out quite early. So I'm actually going to have to shorten this bolt up. But I also found this Banjo Bolt as well, which I will feel a lot more comfortable using in the block side or engine side of things. So I'm going to use that in the engine, and I'm going to cut that one down and use it in the feed. And that is not going to get used because it's pretty useless in my eyes. It's not going to work. Alrighty, so this is the gasket for the exhaust. I've just used some Permatex copper gasket seal. I use this on most of my exhaust stuff. It's pretty good stuff. Just give it a pretty heavy coat, let the solvents dry out of it, and then I just cleaned up the surface on the head and on the manifold with some thinners. So they're ready to go. So get this manifold on and actually get it tightened up, and that's that done. And yeah, then I'll look at doing the runners as well, intake runners. Alright, starting to look pretty good now. So this is a ProFlow rail that I purchased. It's 14 mils, so the correct size for the top O-ring of the LS1 injectors. So put the runners on. I RTV'd the water jacket on the intake. The rest of it I left dry. I'm hoping I don't get any vacuum leaks from it, but just decided to leave the rest dry and just RTV the water jacket with the gasket, obviously. Manifold's on properly. Turbo's just dummied up again, and I've just put that rail on just to see. The rail actually comes with these Allen key bolts, which I believe are meant to be used for both sides of the bracket. But as you can see where this bracket is, by the time you get an Allen key bolt in there, it's pretty hard to get an Allen key onto the bolt head. And I didn't want to put the brackets on first and then try and put them on the rail. That would also be a real pain. So I just swapped them out for regular M6 hex head bolts. That way you can get at them with a spanner. It's not as dressy, but for the sake of making life a lot easier, that's what I'm going to do. So I dummied this up with 2 of the injectors, and I've tightened the rail down onto it. And unfortunately the injectors are still loose, moving around, obviously not sealed. So this setup is just not going to work. I did put those new seals onto these injectors, and yeah, this is just not going to play the game. So yeah, I don't know at this point what to do about it. In two minds. I don't know. I suppose how much do you spend on trying to get a stock LS1 injector to work before you just buy another set of injectors? So I don't know. Might try and play around, see if I can find some different size O-rings, see if I can get it to seal in this seat and still not move. But yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty glad I made this plate. It's all looking really good. At this point, now that I've bought the rail and it's on there and it looks really nice, I really don't want to go back to using VLT injectors, because because VLT injectors are hose tail, I would need to use a standard rail, which would look crap considering how good it looks at the moment. So I don't really know what to do about it. It's looking really good, but glad I put all the time and effort into cleaning everything up and painting everything up nice. So just got to try and decide what to do with these injectors. And as I said, I was gonna leave that just dry for now until I got the rest of this sorted, because I thought it'd be a lot easier to get at, but it's actually quite far over. It's actually quite easy to get everything in here, so I may actually put the gasket on this and seal it up properly. But yeah, I don't know. Bit of stuff to think about. I just tried putting a 14mm O-ring off the top of the LS1 injector into the seat and trying that, but it's still just no good. So given the fact that I was already worried about the snout on these injectors actually being shielded by the head because they don't seem to protrude into the head far enough, like an actual RB injector, the snout on them is significantly longer than the LS injector. So considering how much of a pain this is being and how hard this is making my life, it's sort of, you get to a point where it's like, how much do you mess around and try and make something work, especially considering they're only like a 300cc injector, or I think they're about a 285, something around that. So it's not like they're a brilliant brilliantly powerful injector. They're pretty much, with a 6-cylinder, your pretty good indication for pump fuel is about 100 horsepower per cc. So you call 300cc is about 300 horsepower it's capable of doing on pump fuel, or 98, not E85 sort of thing. So it's not exactly an amazing injector either. So it's like, how far do you go? So at this point, I'm considering just lashing out and buying a decent set of injectors. It's one of those things where if I've got the fuel system down the track, if ever I want to keep upgrading, doing things, I've got the fuel system. So it's not throwing good money after bad, as some would say. It's probably a pretty good investment to actually just buy some decent injectors. Probably be looking around the 600cc. That going off that rule, it's about 600 horsepower capable, which is plenty more than I think I'll probably ever really want in the 31. So if I buy some E85 safe 600cc's, or maybe even higher, I don't know. The problem I have is when you get really high flow rate injectors, it makes it really hard to control them at idle, because it's really hard to get a good spray at them. That's why a lot of people run twin injector rails, is so that you can have two sets of injectors, and that way it's easier to control at lower RPM. But anyway, just lessons for you. But yeah, I'm really thinking about just buying a set of injectors at this point, because these LS1 injectors just aren't going to work, and they're just not that great anyway. And now that this rail is on it, I don't want to go back to using the pigtail VLT injectors. So that's where I'm at. Anyway, that's probably all I'm going to do tonight. I was going to chuck my new harmonic balancer on, but I think I'll do that tomorrow, so that'll be in the next episode. But at least it's really starting to look like a motor again. It's nice to actually work on it again after all these weeks. Yeah, didn't get as much done today as I wanted to, but tomorrow's a new day, and we'll keep going. Get this thing out of here. I'll get the 31 up here, and hopefully keep going with a few things on this. Bit of a pain that a few things didn't work, like that 6-bolt dump. There's a few other things I've got to try and source, but you get that. That's part of building cars. So anyway, thanks for watching as always, guys. And yeah, hope you enjoy. Keep posted for the next episode, and hit like and subscribe and leave me a comment, and I'll don't forget about me shaving my head for leukemia. If you'd like to donate, go down and donate. I'll leave a link in the description. I'm also donating all proceeds of sticker sales this month to the foundation, so if you want, go buy a sticker. Your money will be going to a good cause anyway. So yeah, guys, cheers for that. Catch you later.